Good. How you
All
doing,
right.
man?
I'm tired. Last night was yeah, I haven't slept in like 2 days at this point, so
Oh, for real? What you been doing?
I just couldn't sleep the night before. I was up at from like 2 a.m. and then I had worked all day, did the shoot. So it's just,
Okay. What do you do apart from filmmaking? What else do you do?
I'm a federal investigator for the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotta make sure
yeah.
they're meeting their
So,
they're hiring people and not discriminating.
exactly. And a lot of places don't obey the law.
I
So
can
I stay
I'm
busy.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, that's cool, man. Podcast in a long time, and it would have been cool if Marty was here, but he's not available. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know she's living life. She's out there in Europe having a
he's
blast. When did
living a
she get
life in
back?
Europe. Exactly, exactly. But oh, you know what? I probably should have sent her the link to see if she would join, but I forgot.
You can send it to her. She might hop on.
Yeah, well, sure. It's probably like 2 o'clock over there right now.
I mean, she was up for your last one. Let's see.
Nah, it was the AI one. She did some kind of AI thing on it. She wasn't on it, so it
Wait, what?
recorded it for her.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing.
I don't know how she did that. So I gotta ask her. I gotta
Yeah.
ask her how she did it. But
That's
anyway,
that's crazy.
yeah, let's jump into it right now. So, welcome
Let's
everybody
do
to
it.
another episode of Inside the Mind of the Filmmaker. I am Bola. I'm an actor, screenwriter, and independent filmmaker. My partner Marty is also an actor and a writer and a filmmaker too. And but she's not here right now. She's in Europe on vacation, but she'll be joining us soon. As you can see, I'm on vacation too with my little fake Hawaiian background and stuff like that. But today I have special guests, somebody that I've known for a couple of years, somebody that I've worked with, and hopefully I'll be working with him a little bit more in the future, or a lot more in the future. He's also a writer and a filmmaker and a DP, and I'd like for him to introduce himself. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Terrence Mcloud. Like Bola said, I'm a writer, director, producer. I'm a storyteller. That's how I like to describe myself. Yeah, man. I'm just excited to be here talking with y'all.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. So now, you just released this is your first feature, right?
Yeah. So this is the first feature I directed. Yeah.
Because you've been in you've DP'd other films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what other films have you DP'd?
So feature films I've DP'd. DP'd Reflection of Evil. That was
Mm-hmm.
produced and directed by Robert Salone Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I DP'd Bloodlines. That was directed by Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
And then I DP'd The Jester. And that was also by Robert. And then I've done a couple web series. The Rough Seas, which you had a scene in a couple, one or two episodes, I believe, of that. That's a web series that's on YouTube. I was a DP for, and a bunch of shorts. But as far as features, it's been three features. Narrative. I've done some doc work, commercial work. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to touch on the difference between doing narratives and docs. We'll touch on that later. So
Okay.
your first feature film, which I've seen twice now, A Season for Love. It's a very,
Yes.
very beautiful film. It's a very subtle love story, but it's very beautiful, well done. Just tell us about tell us what it's about. Tell us what the movie is about.
Yeah, so a Season for Love is a story of, young black love where, they kind of fall in love instantly, but as society often happens, things kind of pull people apart. So it's a story of how they navigate, their wants and needs, wanting to stay together, but needs are pulling them apart and how they overcome that.
Yeah. So
And
like I said,
it's set in Charlotte.
Sadie Shaw. Okay.
Go ahead.
Like I
Yeah,
said,
it's
it's a
set in
beautiful.
Charlotte. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Like I said, it's a very beautiful story. Where did you get the inspiration to write this story? Why did you write this story? Why did you write this?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said earlier, I get a lot of calls to be a director of photography on projects, and a lot of them are what you would call a romantic drama, I guess. A lot of there's love centered in the story somewhere. However, I consider it more trauma bonding than actually romance.
Mm,
And I just got kind of tired of, working on those projects. And I remember movies like Love Jones or, Jason's Lair, or just it's movies that I grew up with in the 90s, and I was like, those are the stories I want to be telling, you know what I mean? Um, not, I was getting a lot of stuff where it was, thug love and people, black people not showing the best of light, which I don't
mm,
often like. And I was like, I want to tell something that's more grounded, that's more real, that's more akin to the way I grew up.
mm.
With people who are professional, like Sam in the movie, she plays a doctor. Uh, Tori in the movie, he plays a film director. And so it's taken off of inspired by people I know. Sorry about that.
Mm, go ahead.
Um, it's it's taken from people I know, but definitely fictionalized, and just a all around good story that no matter what you're into, you can watch.
Okay. So this your first time writing a screenplay?
No, no, I've written so I have like a few features that's been written before. This is the first one I decided to produce. I felt
Okay.
like it was actually good enough to go into production.
Oh, okay. Got you. So
Yeah,
given that, what was your process in what's your screenwriting process? Like how did you so we got the story and it's a
yeah.
you've told us how you got the story. So how did you go about like developing it to like where did you see that this one was good enough for to go into production as opposed to the other ones? And what was your process in like bringing it
Yeah,
to
well,
life?
I won't say the other ones aren't good enough. What I mean is, I look at resources, right?
Hmm.
What do I have access to? How much money do I have? And for me, the other scripts I've written that, that some of them are actually getting traction today. Like I've had calls with producers about doing some things, but I think they were kind of too grand in scale for where I was, right? For where my crew was, and it's like, okay, a season for love felt like something that we can make just running around. You know what I mean? Like real, gritty filmmaking. So that's what I mean that it was production ready. It was production ready on a micro budget. Um, that I can spend like just pull out the credit card and we can get it done. That's what I mean by that's the
Okay.
reason why I went there for that one. Now, as far as the writing process goes, I start with an idea, you know. This person meets this person, and then what happens. And from there, I kind of write out a rough synopsis. Like it's not even, I wouldn't even call it a full treatment. Um, I kind of write the beginning, middle, and end. And then, over weeks and weeks, the story kind of comes to me. And
Mhm.
what's interesting, I was talking to Tori, who plays Malik in the film, and he's also a filmmaker. He's also a writer. And
Okay.
he was like, "How do you come up with like characters?" And I was like, "Man, I people watch." Like,
Yes.
so I'll just
Yes.
go outside, I'll walk through Walmart and I just hear conversations and I go and I'll make up an entire story off of like the other day, I was picking up something for my daughter in Walmart and there was this couple arguing. And it was about something so minute, but in my head it was so grandiose. Now I came up with a whole story in my, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
I do stuff like that. And sometimes I always have my phone on me, so I'll just jot down like something somebody says and I'll come back to it later.
Yes.
Um, or I'll jot down a scene, like I have in my notes, I have scenes, just random scenes. And once I decide it's time for a project, once I have the idea, I'm looking through those scenes and I go, oh, that works. And then I just retool it to fit the story until I have something. And then after that, it's just, the typical revisions until you feel like it's just right.
Yeah. That's similar process I go through. Sometimes I'll tell people like I'm writing the script in my head, and sometimes when you see me talking to myself, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I'm mouthing off
Yeah.
what the characters are saying, or I'm just mouthing off like, does this sound good? Does this sound good? And sometimes you have it in your head that it's good, but then when you start putting it down, it's like that doesn't work. Then you have to scratch that out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's a very funny process. So you've got the story down and the script down and stuff like that. Now you the next question is going into production, how do you decide that, okay, you know what? This is because you touched on it, like, okay, how much resources do I have? Do I need to
hmm
collaborate with another producer or filmmaker to like, okay, like let's put money together, I bring you in, or do I just have to go this alone? What was your how did you produce this by yourself or was this a collaborative effort?
Finance, yeah, it was all financed through me. I did bring on other producers who helped me with the organization, and so my producers are Robert Salone and Trey Daughtry. They produce the project, and then my co-associate producers are Lisa Hanna and Ife Nellens, and they came out. They were always part of the crew. So
Mhm.
Ife was my production designer, and Lisa was my production manager. So she handled all the contracts and all the paperwork, right? But as we got closer to post production, the work, I think that's what like, and we can get into that a little later if you want. We're making the movie, honestly, is the easy part.
Yeah.
Like once it's out in the world and you got to get people to watch it, that's where marketing is another beast, right?
Oh,
And Lisa and Ife really came on and really took that forward from me, right? And through social media presence and just helped me come up with marketing ideas. So I made them associate producers on the project just for their help. So yeah, so those were the producers. But as far as if you're talking about like the executive producer financially, yeah, that was all me.
that's all you. Yeah. Yeah. That could, I think the reason why you probably go that way with your first project is that you're not sure how much money you're gonna make back, and you don't want to promise anybody like, okay, yeah, you were gonna make this, and I'm gonna pay you back with profit, and you just be like, you know what, I don't know. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah,
So it's a risk either way. So
and
that's what I'm.
you got to be
But
honest too, like because I'll get a lot of projects like that. Hey, I can't pay you, but I'm gonna get a distribution deal.
mm,
And I ask, well, have you got distribution before? And the answer is no. So you have no idea what you're doing. You're hoping and praying, but you don't know what you're doing. So but for me, if you're in that situation, just be honest with people. Like, hey, man, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I could promise you it's gonna be fun, right?
mm,
Are you down for the ride or not? You know what I mean? And most of the time, if you're open and you're respectful and you're truthful, people are down to help you out. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And you gotta just, you gotta
and
ask.
I yeah, and I see that people are also down to help you when they see that you're serious.
Oh yeah,
When they
yeah,
see that you're putting in the work and stuff like that, and then they're willing to like, you know what, you ain't gotta pay me or anything like that. I'm willing to help you out and stuff. I've come across people like that, and that's
yeah,
very, very encouraging and stuff like that. So that's great that you have those kind of people with you. So when it comes to like the part where you gotta like now the talent, how did you know which who handled the casting, and were you involved in that process? I'm sure you were involved in that process, but how did you know like, okay,
yeah.
being that you were the one that wrote it, you probably
So
have an
yeah,
idea of like, yeah, go ahead.
right. So technically, we didn't have a casting director on the set. I did, and I did the casting, and I cast based off relationships. So what you'll know about me is a lot of anything. I'm always working, right? So because I'm a DP, so I'm always on somebody's project, and I'm always evaluating talent because I have the camera, right?
Mhm.
So it was interesting. I wrote a web series that did not get produced, but Danny, who plays Sam, she auditioned for me. And
Mhm.
when I seen it, I was like, this was a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to be able to make like once I realized that I didn't have the resources to actually make that web series, I was like, okay, we can't make this right now, but I'm going to work with her. Like I knew it. You know what I mean? So we stayed in contact. We followed each other. We were up to date on what we had going on. And then out of sheer luck, honestly, I was watching mo- movies one day, and I was like looking for movies that were a stories film called Caged.
Mhm.
And I seen his performance in it, and I was like, wow, this is somebody I haven't seen in anything else. And I didn't know at the time that he was shooting Fred's project, Born Again Batty, which is also great.
Mhm.
Um, but I was like, I was like, he's got something. So I reached out to him this time Instagram. I was like, hey man, I'm a filmmaker. I'm local. I got this project. You have the right look, and I think you have the right skills, to do this. And he read it. We had a few conversations. He was in, and then immediately before I casted anybody else, I got them two together.
Mhm.
Like because I knew for this to work, they had to be like you had to believe it, right? Or it wasn't going to work. There's a lot of romance movies we've all watched where you like, yeah, you know this ain't, you know what I mean? So I needed Tori, I needed Danny to really sell it, and I mean from the beginning they were, and then every other person I cast is all about relationships. Me and John Caldwell, who plays Ty, which is Malik's best friend and editor in the film, that's our third or fourth project together. Aaliyah, who plays Nikki, who was Sam's friend, I had just worked with her on Rough Seas, which you were in.
Hmm.
So it was like it was just, again, I look at guys like Zemeckis who works with Tom Hanks a lot, or Spike Lee who works with um Denzel and
Ryan
what's the
Coogler, who
guy's,
works with Michael B.
yeah,
Jordan. I think
cool,
this is
yeah.
their
So
third or
it's all
fourth project.
about,
Yeah.
and what people don't understand about that is that, these guys all started at the same time, right?
Hmm.
Coogan, Michael, not really. Michael's been busy for a lot longer, but when you look at Denzel and Spike, their careers kind of started at the same time. You look at Zemeckis, you look at Tom Hanks, the same time, right? The list is long about directors, um, and talent like that. And it's like it's about networking across, right? I could have sat by the phone and called Michael B. Jordan's agent. Was I going to get him? No, you know what I mean? Or any B or C list celebrity in LA. I'm sure I could have
Hmm.
got somebody to pick up the phone. But they don't know who I am. They're not gonna fly, or it's going, or my budget would have ballooned where the guy or girl that's right next to you that's just as hungry as you are, that's the person you're gonna grow with.
Yeah.
I tell filmmakers all the time who ask me like, "Oh, I got this script, but I'm waiting for this person, or I want this DP." And I'm like, "Man, the DP that you want is right there, sitting next to you. That's who you want. That's who you're gonna build with." You know what I mean? Um, I look at Quentin Tarantino and Robert Richardson. They've worked together on almost all their projects.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like, but Robert wasn't Robert before Quentin. You know what I mean? It's a symbiotic. They were there together and they came up together, and that's what
Yeah.
I tell filmmakers they need to do.
That's cool. That's good. That's true. That's true. Yeah, relationships, especially in this indie thing where you want to keep it close and tight and keep it like really affordable and stuff like that. You're pretty much just working with almost the same people and stuff like that. And you guys are just growing together and you guys are
Yeah,
feeding off each other, you know each other and stuff like that. It works well. It works. I mean, with Manteca that I've just worked with the second time, he probably already knows, he's starting to figure out like, okay, this is what Bola likes and stuff like that. So that
right.
kind of thing. So it works that way. I know we've already touched on your like you're looking for your like your behind the camera people. It's mostly the same process and stuff like that. People that you've worked with. Location, location, location. How did you figure out? Because location can be, at one hand people can think like, oh, location, you just pick a spot and just go film. Not It's not necessarily easy. You gotta know where to go and how you can maneuver. How did you guys find your locations for this scene? Because
Um,
you guys had some very cool locations that
yeah.
y'all filmed.
So I knew the film is a romantic drama, but it's also a love letter to Charlotte.
Hmm.
Um, and if I love throwing film history, especially when I'm on podcast, so
Hmm.
don't mind me. But like, I'm a
Hmm.
big fan of Barry Jenkins. I'm a huge
Okay.
fan of his first movie, Medicine for Melancholy.
Okay.
Medicine, Medicine for Melancholy was shot in San Francisco, and the story of how he made it always interests me. Because he's from Florida. He went to Florida State. He was working in LA, just reading scripts. Quit his job, moved up to San Francisco for like a year or two, just to be there, just to be right. And he fell in love with the city. And in Medicine for Melancholy, you can really like the locations. You can really tell that he fell in love with the city. You know what I mean? And I always thought that like your locations and where you shoot is also a character in your script, right?
Mm.
And you got to take it as seriously as you're taking your main actor. So, for I knew I've been here. I'm from New York originally, but I've been in Charlotte since 2018, 2017, and I love the city. So I knew that I wanted to highlight places that speak to Charlotte, like Camp North End, the Mint Museum uptown, like a lot of Romare Bearden Park. There's a lot of places in the film that highlight. It's honestly a city guide if you watch it like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, so for me, it was research, Instagram, like where are people frequently, where are people taking pictures at? I want to
Mm.
be there. You know what I mean? And so it was a lot of research like that, and then a lot of as far as the scout, it was about time. What time made sense to be at these locations? When are they busy? When are they not busy? When is there going to be not a lot of people in the background, but enough to give me some production value, right? I
Mm.
think you got to think like that. Like you can get this great location, but if it's closed and nobody's in it and looks empty, it looks like you didn't have no money to shoot there. You know what I mean? So you got that's a lot of things that people don't think about. It's like, okay, I got this location. I also need people in the background. So it got to be open. The best time to shoot is probably early in the morning where I can get like three or four people in the background. Midday is going to be too busy to shoot. You got to kind of plan it like that.
Oh, okay. So that's
Yeah.
gonna, we're gonna come back to location. I want to get like dealing with actors on the set now, on the day of the set. Because I've had early in my filmmaking career, I had to learn how to like navigate with actors and actresses and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll tell people like, even at this level, some people have some egos. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and you be like, really? People be like, really? They have egos? They don't. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but people just have egos, and you just got to learn how to navigate. Did you have anything like that on set? And if that, how did you navigate? Or was it just like this was just a smooth operation
No,
of rushing?
I didn't have egos. And I'm happy because Danny, Tori and Danny are really good, right? But Danny's great. Um, and it's like, I knew because again, she's theater trained. Tori's not theater trained. I know he kind of came out of school and decided to do this, and for him to be as good as he is I mean, he's only getting better. But I know Danny is trained, so I knew she was going to bring it, right? And there's always that risk of catering to her
Mhm.
or, you know, but I think on this set, everyone was just so collaborative and just one and had a good. I think, and honestly, it comes down to the leaders, me as a director and your crew, and just making everyone feel safe and okay to be who they are. There was no egos at all. We all, one, I treated set like a family. We would stop in the middle of the day, laugh, joke around. We knew the work had to get done. Um, Keep people fed, keep people happy. So have crafty on set. But no, man, there was no egos at all. I, I
Okay.
I think everyone came ready, and willing to do what they needed to do. And I think my also what caters to it as far as actors is my writing style is very collaborative,
Mhm.
right? Where I know there's some directors where if it's on the page, you got to say it, and it's blocked like this, and that can be stressful, especially if you don't come from the stage or that world, right? A lot of actors out here don't come from that world.
Mhm.
Um, so you have to approach them in a way to where they're not professionals in the industry sense of the word, right? So your directing style has to reflect that. And it has to be open. It has to be open for improvisation. It has to be open for what they can do or what they're willing to do. And I think that's the environment and that's the mood I had on set, where it's like, if you have an idea, speak up. Let's talk about it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. But there's always that chance to go, oh, let's try that.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And have you found that whenever you get on location, that as you guys start prepping or filming, you'd be like, you know what? Let's do it this way. Or, instead
Yeah.
of you standing up, sit down and say that line or something like that. Maybe you had them
Yeah.
standing up or something like that.
Yeah.
so that's part of like being flexible, like, having room for like, okay, things may change, you know, based on
Absolutely.
what the actor is bringing or what the location, and the time that you have. Like,
And
we're
just,
running out
I
of
mean,
time. Let's try to see if we can finesse
and
something.
creativity is fleeting, right?
Hmm.
And there's always filmmaking is an interesting medium because photography or paint or a painter, for example, right? Every art form is emotive, right? It's full of emotions. And where a photographer can take a picture and that's it, and they could leave that emotion in that frame.
Yeah,
A painter can paint a piece, and it might go to a collection and it might sell. But as soon as he's done with that last paint stroke or stroke, brush stroke, his emotion it's over.
it's done. Yeah.
Where filmmaking is a living, breathing animal that requires more than one person's. No matter, I call myself an auteur, which means I'm the author of the film. However, I'm not naive enough to know that everyone that's on set that day has a piece of this film. It
Mm,
is bringing something to that. So you gotta stay flexible because I mean there were days on set where I was like, yeah, we're gonna do it this way, but then someone just has a better idea, and
mm,
it's a disservice to the film if I don't honor that. If it's
mm.
not, if the idea is better than mine, the idea is better than mine. You know what I mean? If it's serving the story, that's what comes first.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And I try to do that on my set too. Try to be as open and flexible. Like, okay, give me your ideas and stuff like that. If I like it, then we'll go with it. If not, if like,
Yeah,
yeah, let's we probably let's get what we can get, and then maybe we'll try that after we're done or something like that. So
yeah,
that's because like you said, everybody is invested into this project one way or another. So it's a collaborative effort. Unlike
yeah.
photography, most of the time it's just one photographer and you're done. A painter is just one painter most of the time. Sometimes you can do
Right.
collaborative stuff, but film is always collaborative.
It's
It's a
always
collaborative
collaborative.
effort. So everyone is invested in it. So once the film is now done, now you got to get
Yeah.
into the editing process. Now, who
Yeah.
does the editing?
So I did the rough cut, but
You did
I
the rough cut.
did. I'm not a fan of editing my own work. I can
Mm-hmm.
do it, but sometimes I could be such a perfectionist. It wouldn't have came out. You know what I mean? I watch it today. I was like, I just, I was watching it today because I'm considering doing a special cut. We won't talk about it yet because I'm not ready. But I was watching it today and I'm like, you notice mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, I think what's important is that you got to understand that once you decide to put that film out there, it's no longer mine. It belongs to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And like Bola, you watched it. It's however you perceive it, it's how you perceive it. I can't force that opinion on you, right? So I think for me, my editor, his name's Tom Linton. He's actually in the UK.
Okay.
He's not even in the United States. And once I did the rough cut, so I think I'm trying to go back 'cause it was a year ago. How we did it was I actually edited. I did a rough cut of every after we shot for a day. I
Mm-hmm.
cut the scenes we shot
Okay.
and I cut it. So by the time we wrapped in October, the skeleton of the film was done. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So once I sent it off to him, he had pretty much the story, and it was just about finessing and finding better takes and um, cutting stuff out. A lot of the film didn't make actually not a lot of it, but it was a bit of the film where we just cut out for story.
Let me interject
And
right
it
here.
was cool. What's
Sorry
that?
to interrupt. Let me interject right here because you said something interesting. Like the guy who edited the whole thing, like after you did the rough cut and you sent it to him, the guy's actually in the UK. How did you find this guy
Yeah.
in the UK? Or did he seek you out or you sought him out or something? Like how
So I
did you
was looking
find
for
him?
editor. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups and just filmmaking groups. I'm part of
Okay.
Film Independent as well, which was an organization. And I was posting on message boards. And I can't remember now if I found him on Film Independent or if I found him on Facebook, one of the groups. But we were talking, I was talking to a lot of editors. I was watching a lot of reels. And I know he did a couple Kelsey Grammer films, Frasier.
Oh
And
wow.
the assistant editor on that, and and we were talking. I was watching this cut, and I was this asking him this process, and I just really we kind of had the same thought process when it came to cutting, and we liked the same films, and it just worked.
Mm,
So it was like, okay, you're the guy, and then from there, the hard part about being 5 hours away is that it's early mornings for me, or late nights in the
mm-hmm,
cutting room. We live in a digital era now where you can do remote edits. So we open up the session, he's cutting, I'm here, I'm reviewing, and we're talking through it while he's making the edits. You know what I mean? So it's possible. Would it have been easier for me to do it myself or just find someone US based, Charlotte based? Sure. but I think, the story, I felt like he served the story the best. And I think he did a wonderful job. So,
Yeah, the thing looked very seam. It was just so seamless. It just moved so well.
yeah,
So kudos to the guy because I'm with the guy who's editing my film. We're doing it on Zoom, so we got a session
yeah.
after this. So we're gonna be on Zoom, and then
So you
he's
know how it
going,
goes.
yeah, going ahead and stuff, and we're probably not gonna be done until 2 o'clock. I'm like, yo, bro, I'm sleeping, man. He's like, well,
Yeah.
we'll figure out another time to do it again.
I will
So
say, man, so 'cause that's the first one I did like that, which is cool, but there's nothing better than being actually in the room with your editor,
yeah,
like in the editing suite. I do miss that. So I think my next one, I like time a lot,
mhm,
and if money permits, which I'm hoping it will, I'll probably, if it's a 3 or 4 week edit, I'm probably going to be in the UK,
okay,
um, because that's just how I prefer to work.
yeah.
But yeah,
And one thing I didn't know before that I'm knowing now with this process is that the editing begins long before he gets to the editor,
oh yeah,
long
yeah,
before. And I've heard you guys say it before. I've told me that it didn't register before, but now it is registered while I'm doing the program. I'm like, okay, for the next film, I'm gonna make sure that this is gonna be an easy process for the editor moving forward. Not that we did anything to make it hard,
right.
but it would have made it a little bit more easier. So I realized that the editing has got to start way before you even get to the editor
Yeah,
and
you got to be really. It's organization, man.
organization. Yes,
And I'm not. It was crazy. Is I'm not an organized person. My life is chaos. But I have I work with a good first AD, which is Trey, and the man is meticulous when it comes to the plan, right? So when you have somebody like that, it kind of sets itself. It works for itself. It kind of forces me to be um, ready to go.
I'm
So
my first AD is him, Rigo, and he's
yeah,
just as
yeah,
meticulous and
yeah,
he's just well prepared. And just everybody who's watching, you need first ADs that they will they do
yeah,
they
yeah.
yeah, you need a first AD on say if you can afford one or you can get one, you get a
Yeah,
first AD and
you definitely need one for
yeah,
sure. I mean, they
and
run the set and they're the unsung heroes. They run the set and they do that job for a reason.
for a reason, yes. And I've not seen Trey do first AD, but I know he's very meticulous. But Rigo, I worked with Rigo a couple of times, and
Yeah,
Rigo is like a magician on set, real magician.
yeah, for sure.
So once the film is now finished, obviously now it's now going to you're not going the process of getting out into the world.
Hmm.
Did you go through a did you do a film did you go through the film festival run?
Yeah, we did. We're technically still on one. So, we released in for festival was February 1st,
Okay.
San Diego Black Film Festival.
Okay.
It screened there first, and then it did Rhode Island in April,
Mhm.
and it did Filmteenth just in June, around for Juneteenth weekend. It won best feature at Filmteenth.
Okay.
Um, and then that ended our North American tour,
Mhm.
and I'm waiting to hear back to see if we get into our international film festivals because right now, so it's streaming right now
Mhm.
on all the buy platforms, Amazon, Apple TV, Google Play, YouTube, Fandango at Home, Hoopla. There's a couple other ones I can't think off the top of my head, but it's only available in the UK, United States, Mexico, and Canada.
Okay.
So what the plan is right now is to go international in the fall and line it up with some of these festivals that we get into. So here's hoping we get into a few. I should know next week if we get into a couple, but yeah, we definitely did festivals.
Mhm.
Um, the interesting about it, a lot of people think my distribution came from I don't know if I'm jumping the gun. You can stop me if I am.
No, no, keep going, keep going.
Um, yeah, my distribution came from festivals. It did and it didn't. Right, we didn't get picked up at a festival. We were noticed though,
Mhm.
and then from there it was a lot of back and forth, sending the film out to different distributors, and just getting the best deal possible for us.
So with distributors, what you're saying is that some film festivals you didn't get in, but a distributor saw it and reached out to you, or you guys were reaching out to distributors to try to find the best deal?
We were reaching out to distributors. We
Or
were
reached
reaching
out to
out to the
so
yeah,
now that's the distributors are very, are like very tricky in this industry, especially for independent filmmakers. How
yeah.
I'm not gonna ask you which one you got, but how did you know that the one you got is the right one? What did they tell you, or what did you see that you were like, okay, let's roll with this guy?
So what I will say is get IMDb Pro. If you're a filmmaker, if you got a
Mhm.
film, get IDMB or
IMDb,
IB. I can't think of it, but
yeah,
get
IMDb.
yeah, get the pro version. The pro
Hmm.
version, you can reach out to producers, you can find agents, and the reason why is because in all these production all these distributors are on there, and what happens is in an independent film, these smaller distributors, they're all typically going to offer you kind of the same deal. Unless you get into like a South by, Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you're not really getting the big deals with the print and advertising budget. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Unless you have a star, right? But if you're like us, you're on the micro budget side of things, you're typically getting the same deal, kind of. They vary from little to little bit, right? The issue is just because you're getting the same deal on paper, don't mean these distributors always have the best intentions. So
Mm.
the key around that is IDMB is a nice resource because what you can do is you can see what they've distributed
Hmm.
and you can see who the producers are. And then you can get their contact information. So what I did is I just picked up the phone and I called the producers and I say, "Hey, I see you have a relationship with this distributor. Do you mind telling me your thoughts?" And this community, if you're honest and you're asking the right questions, people will help you out. And people were like, I didn't have a good people. Some people said, with this for this one distributor, I'd say away. You know what I mean? Payments relate this and that. Others were stand up, and I felt like the one I went with a lot of the producers were happy. You know what I mean? So that gave me a good feeling. I was like, okay, there might be something here. And the deal was good. The deal was good.
So
All things considered,
going with distributor, why didn't you did you think about self-distributing and going through Film Hub, or you just said like, you
I
know what,
did.
you thought about that? Why
No,
didn't you go with that?
so I thought about it. So the first film festival we applied to was South by Southwest,
Okay,
and that was a mistake on my part because the film wasn't ready.
okay.
Right? I was up against a deadline and I wanted to submit it. And
Mhm.
in hindsight, I do believe that if the version that you see today
Mhm.
was submitted, it would have got in. I believe that. However, so once, and I think, we as filmmakers, we kind of get in our head. Once I got the denial letter, I was like, oh, it's over. I suck. Right? I'm just gonna put this on Film Hub, whatever's gonna happen. And
Yeah, I
luckily,
went
I had
through
a
that
sales
too.
agent. My sales agent was like, "No, let's not do that. It's a good film." You know what I mean? And he kind of talked me up the ledge. But our backup plan was always Film Hub. I think Film Hub is a fantastic resource, man. Um, honestly, there's a bunch of platforms that you can get your film on, and I think Film Hub is no different from a lot of these distributors, by the way. To be honest. The difference is that some of these distributors are going to give you a little bit of marketing. They're going to give you a publicist maybe, right? To get you some reviews or some podcast interviews and stuff like that. Um, where Film Hub, you got to do it yourself. So I
Mm.
think the thing is, if you're thinking about distribution as you're writing the film, Film Hub is great. You just have to put the money in the marketing. Like you
Mm.
have to. So like, let's say you have a $20,000 movie. You need that movie is $40,000. It's
Mm.
$40,000 because you need 20,000 in marketing. You really do. Like, um, I'll be honest, my budget was not that big, but to date, I've doubled. Like in marketing, I'm close to double what we made the movie for. Just
And
to
that's
sell
coming
it.
out and that's coming
Just
out of your pocket.
yeah, it's coming out of my pocket.
Oof.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
But you got to think, I so I got a small MG, This is called a minimum guarantee.
Mm.
So technically, I got the money that I made the movie for, I got back,
Okay.
and then I just reuse that money again to market it.
Okay.
But you know, looking at the sales reports and the information I have so far, it's working out for me.
Okay. Wow. I
So
think I know you and I are going to talk more about this, moving forward
yeah,
with regards to my film and stuff like that. But I think, yeah, this is vital information for a lot of people who will be watching and stuff like that. I think we probably have to bring in you and other filmmakers and just talk in like maybe have a session and just talk mostly about distribution, working with distributors, and like the minimum guarantee that you talked about and stuff like that. All that goes because I think that's just a topic on its own. That's not
yeah,
something you
I
can.
will say it is. I will say this just before we move on. Your copyright is vital and important. There's some companies are predatory,
Mm,
and what they'll ask for your copyright. Like they'll ask you to they'll ask for ownership.
what?
Um, and the deals they put out there, it makes it look like you're getting, money for it, or you'll get this crazy advance, but you don't realize that they have to recoup those costs. So if
Mm,
you're not capping those expenses, and again, yeah, we could probably have to do like a roundtable to talk more deep. If you're not capping those expenses, you're never going to see a dime. You're not.
yeah,
You're just
yeah.
not. So
I've heard of.
you gotta be smart. Like
Yeah.
you gotta think logistically, right? How much is this little movie I made going to make
Mm,
in 5 to 7 years?
mm,
If it's not going to make $100,000, don't take $100,000 deal.
mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta think. We gotta start thinking like that. So
Yeah, we got to talk more about this one. I might have to organize another podcast where another session where we're just going to be talking about just mostly distribution because I think that's for
yeah,
filmmakers, that's the aspect that the market and distribution is something that we still are trying to navigate
yeah.
as filmmakers.
It's marketing. It's not necessarily distribution. Because again,
Marketing. Okay.
you have Film Hub, you have Bitmax, you have Quiver, like these places where we can get our films. Because really, ideally, right, especially in the US, where are people going to look for movies? Amazon,
Um,
YouTube, Apple TV. Like everything else, Tubi's a
yeah.
big one.
Mhm.
Everything else, honestly, no one's really why. I mean, it's Academy of scale. So the more places your movie's out there, all those the pennies will add up eventually. But the bulk of your views are going to come from those platforms. And the fact that you can get on there on Film Hub is half the battle. The bigger battle is just marketing. You gotta stay on it. You have to spend the money.
So, speaking about those platforms, where can people watch A Season for Love?
Yeah, Season for Love right now is available on Apple TV, Amazon Prime Video, YouTube Movies. It's on Fandango at Home. It's on the Google Play Store. And if you're in the UK, you can find it on Amazon and the Sky Store, I believe that's called, Sky Network. Um, Canada, it's also available on their cable channels, which I think is Bell South and Charter Communications and Spectrum also has it, video on demand. And a few, yeah, that's where it's at.
That's pretty good.
So
I will leave the link to the Amazon Prime one in the description
yes,
for everyone
please.
to like be able to click on and go watch. So, what is next for you? What's the next project?
Um, so right, like I said, I'm always writing. I do have this project that I'm looking to make soon. I've been in talks with the producers trying to get some funding for it. I'm not sure if I really want to talk about what it is just yet because we're still formalized and rewrites and stuff like that. But it's going to be a grounded drama that's really going to make you think about things. I'll say that. If you're a fan of just cinema, man, and you like dramas and you like seeing black men portrayed differently, not your typical thugs or anything like that, really take on a character that you don't see, I think you'll like it.
Okay. Well, I
Outside of
can't
that,
wait.
that's
I
really
can't wait.
it.
I can't wait to see. But before we let you go, I got to throw you a curveball question now.
Okay.
Curveball question is this: What is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh man. Favorite movie of all time.
And
My
I got
favorite.
another a follow-up one to that.
Okay. My favorite movie of all time. Oh, it's The Lion King.
Lion King?
Ori 1990, yeah, 1994 original Lion King animated. That's my favorite movie of all time, honestly.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah.
So the follow-up question is this: what movie do you, apart from the Lion King, because it's probably gonna be the Lion King, but apart from the Lion King, what movie have you seen that you'd be like, man, I wish I could have, I could have directed that film. I would have done, I would have. It's great, but I would have done something different.
Uh, Tons of films. You want recently?
I mean, it could be from 1950s. I don't care.
Uh, I don't know, man.
You want to say Lion King?
Nah, because I wouldn't do anything differently with the Lion
You don't do
King.
nothing different with Lion
Um,
King?
nah, well, Lion King is perfect to me. Uh, Honestly, you know what? The last Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of the right? Okay, okay,
I
okay.
like it.
I
It's
haven't
just
seen it
people don't, but I
yet.
would have, I would have, I do like it, but I would change up a little bit.
Seen some. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Wait, Rise of the Sky. That's the last Star Wars. That was the one that oh shoot, did I see that?
I
I don't
can't
know.
remember who directed.
I,
Yeah,
I
it's
can't.
the last one of the Skywalker saga.
Skywalker Saga. Okay. I don't know if I saw it, but yeah, a lot of the spin-offs of Star Wars have just, but the fans of Star Wars, they've been very disappointing. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. George
well,
Lucas
maybe,
deserves to have it back, but
yeah,
it's
maybe
okay.
Disney will see this and be like, let's get this guy to come direct the next Star Wars, man. You'll be
Oh,
up for that?
please, please give me the Grogu, give me the Mando and Grogu movie. I would love to, even though I think they already made it. I would love to. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That um, I'm a big Game of Thrones fan.
Oh,
Like
come on.
if they were, you know what? I think I did it a couple years ago. I don't know if it's still active, but I actually did a petition to like turn the last season into a movie and just let me like I would write it, direct it, and just
Which one? The
fix
last
it.
season of Game of Thrones?
Yeah, yeah.
I think they're gonna do a movie version. I don't know if that's true or something. They said they're gonna
They
do
need
a
to.
feature
They
film.
need to fix it. They just reshoot the whole thing. It was terrible,
We
but
shoot the whole thing.
not terrible, but
I
it's not a
I
bad
didn't mind
season.
the last season. I thought it was okay.
It was
Maybe
all
I'm
right.
just one of the only few people. Only few people. But anyway,
All right.
Terrence,
Yeah,
thank you very much for coming onto the show. I truly appreciate it. You've really given us a lot of knowledge here and a lot of things that I got to think about as a filmmaker. And I'm sure everyone who's going to be watching this will get a lot of knowledge from this and a lot of education from this. So thank you. Your movie is awesome. I love it. I can't wait for Marty to see it because I'm sure she's gonna be truly appreciate. She's gonna be up. In fact, I should send her the link to watch it when she's when she's over there too, because she probably might
yeah.
just
Please.
hit you
I
up
know
on
she
Instagram.
probably unless she's in the UK, she probably can't get it.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah, that is true. That
it's
is
not
true. That
it's
is true.
not
That is true.
available
So she
anywhere unless I mean there's
unless she
ways.
gets back when she
Yeah,
gets back. All
when
right.
she gets back.
So anyway, well, like I said, thank you, and I'm gonna have to invite you over again for when we have to talk about marketing, because I think that
Yeah,
one is such a big topic that just a segment is not enough. We got to do a whole
gotta do the whole
podcast
thing.
that
Yeah,
for to
for sure.
educate everybody, to educate me and everybody else. But that's the episode for today, guys. Thank you very much for joining in. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, and like I said, I'm gonna leave the link to go watch this film, A Season for Love, on Amazon Prime. Go watch it, and let us know what you think about the film if you watched it, and I'm gonna leave a link to his Instagram too, so you can get in contact with him and stuff like that. And until next episode, stay
I
blessed.
appreciate it, man.
Peace. Thank you.